So welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us for today's Discover session featuring AI scholars, CS scholars, Summer Academy for Math and Science, also known as SAMS, and then we have a special visitor today from Computational Biology. Our Discover sessions are an opportunity to learn more about pre-college programs and our application process on a high level, our student affairs structure and activities, so really what happens outside of the academic classrooms, and then a chance to learn more about the academic programs that we are featuring today. Quickly, I will introduce our presenters tonight. I am Marjorie Dawkins. I'm the Associate Director of Pre-College Enrollment Management, and we have Meg Pryor, the Assistant Director of Pre-College Student Affairs, then Natalie Hatcher from AIS Scholars and CS Scholars, Rashawn Lang and Monica Colbert from SAMS, and then Josh Kangas from Computational Biology, sitting in front of his lab there. As we move through our agenda, and you can see it on the screen here, and questions pop up into your mind, please go ahead and type them into the Q&A Zoom feature, and we'll either answer them in that Zoom feature, or we'll hold them until the end and we have some Q&A time. So I'll begin with just a brief overview of pre-college programs, just to put everything into context. First, you're going to hear us refer to the Office of Pre-College Programs. That's the team that manages the enrollment, the logistics, and the student affairs portions of our programming. That is Meg and I. We're part of that team. And then each specific academic program is run by one or more program directors, and they manage the academic portion or the curriculum of the programs. So looking at pre-college programs as a whole, we offer 12 academic programs. All of them offer scholarships. Most of the programs offer residential and commuter options, but not all of them, and we will point those out tonight. The programs are of varying lengths, so they can be from 3 to 6 weeks, depending on the program. And we're going to enroll about 800 students from around the country and around the globe. Just a couple of very important requirements. We do require you to be at least 16 years of age at the time of programming, so by June 21, 2025. And we do require our students to be rising 11th or 12th graders during the summer of 2025, so during the programming. So that means you ought to be a sophomore or a junior when you're filling out the application. Briefly, I'm going to run through our other programs. If you have any specific questions about any of these other programs, let's just hold those questions and you can reach out to me directly so we can discuss them. So we have AI Scholars featured tonight. Architecture, art, computational biology is here with us tonight. CS Scholars is here as well. Design, drama, music, National High School Game Academy, Summer Academy for Math and Science, that's here tonight. Summer Session, and Writing and Culture. So again, if you have any questions about these other programs, please reach out to me directly. And with that, oops, wrong slide. I'm going to hand it over to Natalie. Can you tell us some about AI Scholars and CS Scholars?
I sure can. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much, Marjorie. I'm having a one little fuzzy thing happening with my slides, so give me one moment to get myself situated here. I appreciate your patience. Okay, here we go. And I'll share my screen. Okay, can everybody see that? Great. Hi, everyone. As Marjorie said, my name is Natalie Hatcher. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Senior Program Outreach Manager for CS Pathways out of the School of Computer Science, and I am the Program Director for both the AI Scholars and the CS Scholars programs. So I'm going to talk to you this evening about both of those programs. I'm going to try to move quickly because I know we've got a lot to cover, so I'm going to throw a lot of information at you, and always know that if I miss something or if there's something that you want to hear more about, you can grab my email and feel free to send me an email with any questions. And I think we'll also have time for questions at the end here. So like I said, I'm from CS Pathways, and I want to just tell you a little bit about who we are. So CS Pathways is a tiny little department that operates out of the dean's office in the School of Computer Science. I really wanted to share our mission with you this evening. We believe that all students, especially those who've been historically excluded from and are traditionally under-resourced and underestimated in STEM fields, deserve access to programs that help them decide if theirs is a future in computer science. And we believe that no one should have that decision dictated to them by their circumstances. CS Pathways exists to achieve that goal, to develop programs and initiatives that create a more equitable and inclusive journey to computer science opportunities for all students from all backgrounds. Like I said, we believe that computer science is for everyone. And so we work to incorporate these sort of four fundamental things into all of our programming. That we want to give students the tools to succeed, to learn if computer science is a pathway for them. We want to give you the resources and support. So we offer resources and support that considers the entirety of a student's needs and experiences. And we prioritize treating everyone with dignity and respect. We want to help you build a solid foundation. We know not every school offers computer science educational experiences. So we're hoping that with our programs, we can fill that gap. And then also help build the fundamentals. To be successful in STEM, all students need to learn the importance of fundamentals, numeracy, literacy, computational thinking. So these are sort of all of the core things that are baked into the CS Pathways programming for our pre-college programs and our other programs that we run here in Pittsburgh. So what do we do? More specifically, what do we do in the summertime, right? So like I mentioned, we have two pre-college programs, our CS Scholars programs, which we call CSS, and our AI Scholars programs, which we call AIS. So I'm going to start with the CS Scholars program. CS Scholars, as a CS Scholar, you would engage in college level courses in computer programming and mathematics, as well as weekly seminars that explore college admissions, financial aid, building independence, mental health, emotional wellness, and more. So our CS Scholars program is for anyone who's currently a sophomore, so our rising juniors. I know Marjorie mentioned those very important requirements around your age. So sometimes with CS Scholars, we run into an issue because some of you might be currently a sophomore, but you might not be 16 by the start of the program. And unfortunately, that's a requirement that we're not able to waive. But if you are going to be 16 by the start of the program and you're currently a sophomore, then you are eligible to apply for CS Scholars. So we're going to do a deep dive into the world of computer science through a combination of classroom instruction, hands-on research projects, faculty lectures, industry engagement. And by the end of the program, you should be able to code an interactive application in Python, demonstrate an understanding of the basic principles of computational problem solving, publicly present a group project, and demonstrate awareness of shared responsibility within a team, which I think most of you are doing that in your high schools. But it's always fun to watch you do that quickly in a short amount of time with each other. Gain confidence in your ability to further pursue undergraduate coursework and or a career in computer science. Demonstrate a greater understanding of how to leverage computer science for the good of society. And then join us the following summer for AI Scholars. So I do want to mention that if you join us for Computer Science Scholars this summer as a rising junior, you have the opportunity to come back the following summer as an AI Scholar. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when I talk about AI Scholars. Folks always kind of ask about what the daily schedule looks like. What's a typical day for CS Scholars? So you can see it's a pretty full day. About 9 a.m. we get started with core classes. So daily in the morning, you're going to have your core curriculum, your programming coursework, your math coursework. We'll take a lunch break around noon. Come back for more of your core classes. And where this says varied by day, this sort of afternoon block, you might have some programming, like work sessions. You may have some other core classes that we build into the curriculum. So some of those things I talked about earlier, the mental and emotional well-being. We've got some classes that we talk about, you know, what self-identity is really, I think, what we like to call it, just helping you further understand yourself and how to, leverage your power, your own story, where you come from, who you are, and how to really like build that confidence so that you can use those skills to further your journey, especially as you transition into college. And then we also do what we call our cohort meetings, usually during those times where you'll meet with myself and Malik, who's my right hand man when it comes to all things CSS and AIS. And we usually do those weekly meetings during that time as well with all of the students. And then after that, you work in your groups on your group projects. And then usually after that, and this is not every day, some days we go till 5, some days we go till 6, some days we go a little later. It's a long day. We may have like a special presentation from a faculty member or someone who works in the industry here in Pittsburgh. We might take a field trip to some place like the Microsoft office. We may have a special seminar that's run by our admissions department or to talk about admissions or financial aid or things like that. So that's kind of just at a glance of what the daily schedule might look like. So CS Scholars, is it for you? Like I said, if you're currently in the 10th grade and will be 16 by the start of the program, then please do apply. Do you have an interest in learning more about computer science? Then think about applying. No experience is necessary. I want to just make that very clear. You don't have to have any particular experience in programming. We accept a wide variety of students with varying levels of experience from I've never touched an ounce of code in my life to I've taught myself some things online to I took one CS course maybe in middle school or my high school only has one CS course and that's the course that I was able to take to I learned some code at the Boys and Girls Club. We cover the whole gamut. So there's no level of experience that's necessary to be admitted to CS Scholars. Do you care about using technology as a tool for positive social impact? Students who are underrepresented in the STEM field, which we talked about a little bit earlier when I talked about our mission statement, students with demonstrated financial need and or lacking resources and access to computer science education. Okay, I'm going to roll over and talk about AI Scholars. So these programs are sort of scaffolded from each other. So like I said, if you come this summer and you join us for AI Scholars, you have or for CS Scholars, you have the opportunity to come back a second summer to CMU for AI Scholars. So as an AI Scholar, you'll do an in-depth analysis of the fundamentals of AI and machine learning. You'll learn and explore Python coding, data, algorithms, evaluation, and more. I think I mentioned in CSS, you're also learning Python. So there's a little bit of building from the previous year's skill level, but not too much. If you're coming into AI Scholars completely new, which you have the opportunity to do, if you didn't complete a CS Scholars, we still work around your experience level, whether that's no experience or more experience. And I deep dive into the world of artificial intelligence through a combination of we do a pre-program virtual onboarding course. So if you are coming into AI Scholars, we probably ramp that up about 3 weeks beforehand, where our professor will send out through a platform called EdTech. I might have said that wrong. I'm not a professor. I'm just a program. I hire them to do all of the really to teach you all these really amazing things. But you'll start some Python programming just for that, again, for us to kind of get a feel for where everybody's experience level is and to help sort of tailor the content once you get here. And that pre-program virtual onboarding course is usually kind of co-taught between a TA and the professor, and there's lots and lots of support. So don't let that scare you if you're someone who doesn't have a lot of experience. It's really a great way to kind of get wet your whistle before you get to campus. And just like CS Scholars, classroom instruction, hands-on projects, faculty lectures, industry engagement. And then I'll show you just a little bit of a daily schedule here too. So 9 a.m. to 11:30 about your core classes, daily, a little lunch break. And again, core classes mixed with group projects in the afternoon. And then those same sort of core classes outside of the programming and the AI that I was talking about before, the cohort meetings. I failed to mention in the CS Scholars, when I was talking about CS Scholars, but both CS Scholars and AI Scholars also take a writing workshop. So in CS Scholars, that writing workshop is really focused on like developing a personal statement. And then in AI Scholars, that writing workshop is really focused on helping you build an essay for your college applications. It'll be a workshop throughout the course of the program. And then again, those sort of special presentations by faculty or industry, field trips, and special seminars is AI Scholars for you. Same, really, these are the same things that we talked about with CS Scholars, except I want to mention that you have to be currently in 11th grade. And again, we'll be 16 by the start of the program. Do you have an interest in learning more about AI? No specific level of experience is necessary. Do you care about using technology as a tool for positive social impact? And then again, students who are underrepresented in STEM field, students with demonstrated financial need and or lacking resources and access to CS or AI education. What to expect? By the end of the AI Scholars program, you should be able to recognize AI applications in the real world and explain how they might work at a high level, understand the role data plays in certain AI systems, assess the outcome of a given AI system, especially regarding safety and ethics, implement code in Python, simple versions of AI algorithms, including nearest neighbor classification, linear regression and neural networks, develop your own AI application and detail how it could be implemented, publicly present a group project, and gain confidence in your ability to further pursue undergraduate coursework and or a career in AI. I want to talk I know I'm talking very fast. I'm trying to be mindful of the time since we have two other groups that have to present. So I want to talk a little bit about sort of the beyond the classroom, the seminars and workshops that I talked about, and the class discussions and the bonding. We work really hard to create community within our CS scholars and our AI scholars. I think if you had an opportunity to talk with a student who's participated in either of these programs in the past, I think one of the things that they would really talk a lot about is finding their people, finding their community, and finding their best friends. And it's one of our favorite things to watch as a program instructor. So a lot of the time that we spend together is really focused on like building community and a sense of belonging for each student that's there. And then also, working on these things like admissions and financial aid, college application and essay prep, alumni presentations. We've done lots of current CMU students do panels at lunchtime where you can ask questions from current CMU undergraduate students, faculty research presentations, so you can learn what types of things are coming out of the School of Computer Science at CMU, what things are being worked on currently. Off-campus site visits to CMU and other industry facilities. We have lunch with the dean every year, which is one of our favorite things that we do. You get to just have this really informal kind of sit down chat with the dean of the School of Computer Science, and he just lets you ask whatever questions you want while you eat pizza. It's really fun. And then continued engagement, keeping in touch and offering continued support for college and career journeys. So I have written so many recommendation letters for college applications in the last couple of years. But beyond that, we do some of the things that we've worked with our folks, our sister program, the SAMS program, and I'm sure Roshan will talk a little bit about this, is we've done a lot of virtual programming after you go home. So there's lots of opportunities for things like, oh my gosh, my brain just went completely numb. We're going to be doing a financial.
FAFSA. We got FAFSA.
We did FAFSA.
SAT prep.
SAT prep was what my brain it was. I kept going PSA, and I was like, that's not it. SAT prep. My brain was not pulling that out. Yeah. So things like that, and just continued opportunities to offer support to all of you. So just sort of some important details about the program. The cost for CSS and AIS is free to admitted students. We're what is called a fully funded merit-based programs. That means everyone who is admitted to CSS or AIS receives a scholarship to attend. That scholarship covers your tuition, your room and board, your meal plan, and in certain cases, we've covered travel in the past. where travel might be an absolute barrier for you to attend. And we work really hard to remove whatever barriers to attendance we can for students who are admitted. CSS and AIS are both 4-week programs. We run June 21st through July 18th. So in those 4 weeks, both of those cohorts, the CSS and the AIS cohort, do a lot of commingling, and we try to do a lot of commingling with the SAMS cohort too at that time. Just really, again, it's really important for us to be building that community and that sense of belonging. Each program takes 30 students. So we have 30 students in the CSS program, and we'll have 30 students in the AIS program. I do want to mention, because I'm sure somebody will ask this, because we do have returning CSS students for AIS, that does make that does increase the competition, because there are fewer spots to give away. I can't tell you at this moment exactly how many spots we have yet, because we have not solidified the number of returning students for this summer. But I can tell you that last year we ended up with just a little bit of over half of the cohort were returning students, and then just under half were new students. So that was our experience. This is something new that we've done in the last couple of years, so I don't have a whole lot of historical data to offer you on that, but I will say that it does make the acceptance rate smaller for AIS than for CSS. And then our application deadline is March 1st. I'm sure I forgot something, but I'm sure you'll have questions, and I can't wait to answer them when that time comes. But thanks for listening, and I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you. Thanks, Marjorie.
Thanks, Natalie. Rashawn, Monica, can you talk to us about SAMS?
I can't. I believe Monica had to hop off. She may join back on if she's able to, but give me 1 second here to get our presentation up. Alrighty. Are we good? Can everybody see? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. My name's Rashawn Lang. I use she, her pronouns. I work in the Center for Student Diversity and Inclusion at Carnegie Mellon. We are the programming office that coordinates the SAMS program. I'm a special projects manager there. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the center. I will echo a lot of what Natalie had to say. There's a reason that we're sister programs. There's a lot of overlap in the way that we approach our work and the work with our summer programs. And I will also add, as Natalie did, that we are open to all kinds of questions at the end. So I will move through this so that I don't take up the time here, and then we'll stay on to answer questions at the end. This is like left is Pittsburgh today. This is actually not a today picture, but I walked by those chairs yesterday and they look exactly like that in exactly that place. So very snowy in Pittsburgh today, but the picture on the right is how beautiful our lovely campus is during the summer. So this is actually one of our writing groups in the spring, and we just thought it would be a nice way to contrast for wherever anybody might be today to know that we do have gorgeous, beautiful weather throughout the summers in Pittsburgh. The Center for Student Diversity and Inclusion has been around actually for a very long time at the institution, just not sort of under this umbrella term as the Center for Student Diversity and Inclusion. This is actually a senior student project from several years ago. They are 3 6-foot panels. They're 6 foot tall, so they take up a lot of space in the center. We are a physical space located in the University Center where students come to study, to hang out. We are told we have the best sleeping couches on campus. Groups meet in that space. Students meet for lunch. It's a social and a programming space also. And we as staff members sort of work around the outside of where the students gather in the space. We're open 7 days a week. And just serve as a really great grounding space for folks who want to use our space. We're open to all students from perspective all the way up through PhD, alumni, families, all sorts of folks are welcome in the center. Just to give an idea of some of the things that we do in the center, the picture on the left is from an Origins program. So we do a pre-orientation program for incoming first-year students. But we also really focus on sort of topical things that are going on in the world, that are going on for our campus and for our students. We are great collaborators with other departments, both inside and outside of the university. We are currently in the midst of a lot of MLK programming that we actually extend beyond MLK Day and into book readings and speakers that come to campus. And so we offer a wide variety of programming and touch points for folks to be connected with us and to be connected with each other throughout the campus community. So we believe all of what drives our work is this culturally engaging campus environments model. It's called the CC model. And essentially what it says is that it's really important for us in our work to have cultural relevance and cultural responsiveness. We understand that that then influences folks in their academic disposition and their performance. If you don't feel like you belong in a space, it becomes really difficult to do well, to focus on your work, and to even thrive in those spaces if you don't feel like those spaces are meant for you to be in. And so all of what drives the work in the center is thinking about the idea around belongingness and making sure that folks feel like there is space for them, space for their voice, bringing full identities into the spaces and not feeling like you have to shed some piece of yourself to be given resources or access to community. Now I'll move on to the SAMS part of our conversation. This is actually a picture of our cohort, and Monica is back. Hello, Monica. This is our cohort from this past summer at our symposium. Much like Natalie mentioned, at the end of the program, there is a research symposium day long where students will present their research. And so, yeah, there's just a lot of joy in this picture that makes me happy to see. This is all on our website. Yeah, exactly. This is on our website. This is part of pictures from what was happening at Symposium last year. But Summer Academy for Math and Science has been around for over 20 years at Carnegie Mellon, providing opportunities for rising high school seniors from underrepresented communities to explore STEM fields. We are also a fully funded merit-based program. Eligibility has been mentioned in 1,000 places so far, including our website, but I will repeat it to say you must be at least 16 years old by the program start date. You must be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, and you must be a current junior now while you're applying and a rising senior at the time of the program. We have interspersed some quotes in this. These are from our SAMS 24 cohort, just to understand from the voices of the students what is happening here. Are you good, Monica?
Yes, I'll read one.
Okay.
I genuinely think that it was one of the most life-altering experiences I've had so far. Not much of my future would look the same without SAMS. By the way, we're not promoting ourselves or SAMS. These are students' voices. My goals for my future would have looked entirely different. SAMS helped me to realize that by pursuing a path while giving all I can do anything. We don't pay these students to say this. This is their actual experience. So, yes.
And Monica's going to lead in and give you an idea of a sample schedule. These are taken from last year's schedule, will not look exactly the same this year.
Correct. And it might be a little small and hard to read. And I just want to I'm sure I was introduced, and sorry, I'm on like toggling two things at once. But I am co-director of SAMS along with Roshan Chang. And last year was my first year, and I was kind of tagging along aside Roshan, and it was my first experience, and I was experiencing it along with the students. And to see the program and what they bring to students, the opportunities and the hands-on physicality of getting into SAMS. And I myself am, I have a BS in chemistry. Obviously, I work in education. I didn't base my career on that, but it was a beautiful thing, an opportunity to see be brought to high school students. So without further ado, this is just a sampling of the schedule. It is definitely robust. You're bringing energy, you're bringing seriousness to it, you're bringing intensity to it, in everything that you have, your intelligence, and also everyone that is sitting in this audience, you can do it, because it's not meant for people who have perfected everything. It's meant for students who have a curiosity and a genuine interest in STEM. So it looks robust, but you can get through it. And I'm sure as I've been talking, you've been kind of looking through it. It is basically a 9 to 5 schedule. Where we build mills into it, but you're in classes from morning and going into the afternoon, you're in projects. You're in different projects. You will have somewhat of a choice in projects. Not everyone's going to get their first choice because there are 75 of you and, select number, but you can kind of see the day to day. And Roshan, I don't know how much detail you want
Well,
to
yeah,
get
no,
into.
I'm going to scoot because we only have 2 minutes left and we've got a
Yes.
lot of slides to get through. So
Yeah.
I'm going to scoot through the next one and go briefly. This is one of our projects. This was a polymer chemistry course. The person with the foils in their hair is actually the instructor. And one of the final projects was a hair dye experiment to learn what hair dye does in different colors to different types of hair. And so this brave instructor let the students dye their hair. I'm going to do
basic polymers.
Yes, yes, yes. Sorry. Go ahead, Monica, if you want to. This is just I'll let you do this one and then we only literally have a minute left.
No, go.
Okay. So this is just a sample of what the courses were that were offered this past summer. Know that they will look similar. These are not the courses for summer 2025. Those have not been finalized yet. This is from one of our lab-based science courses. The students had projects that were also due throughout that. Again, the point of this is, again, saying that this was a quote from a math course, but students learned about what it was like to be in a safe environment where they could share that they didn't understand something or asking for help or being in spaces where they were collaborating with others. I think you'll see that across a lot of our classes, and the joy that this student is also taking that back into the spaces where they find themselves after SAMS. Deadlines. Okay. SAMS, February 1st is our preferred deadline. March 1st is the final deadline. Nothing happens with February 1st. It's not an early decision or an early admittance. The notification date stays the same regardless. It's just the ability for us to start reviewing applications. We find that we get a lot of applications and they come in the last 24 hours, which makes it very complicated on our side to review all of them. And so we're just hoping to get some more in sooner rather than later. Notifications are going out April 4th. That's via Pre-College Central. We have 2 program dates. There's a virtual jumpstart that will take place June 16th and 17th. That's a handful of hours in each of those days. And then we are in person for full 6 weeks, June 21st to August 2nd. This is at one of our writing seminars. Again, students are talking about being in a collaborative community. There's a difference between the competition and the collaboration that they might be finding in high school. To Natalie's point, forging these lifelong friendships and growing confidence. This was a pre-college ball game. You'll see everybody in their pre-college shirts last summer. So this student is talking about coming from an uncompetitive rural high school, that they didn't find themselves in a stimulating environment and that they appreciated those experiences here and also met some of their very best friends to the day. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing that. We'll go back to the program. I'm sorry for the rush, but again, Monica and I will be on and we'll answer any questions that anybody might have.
Thank you, Rashawn and Monica. So we have a guest. We've invited a special guest this evening, Josh from Computational Biology, just to sort of tell you why we thought it would be important for Josh to join us tonight. You can list up to 3 program choices within the application, and we really do suggest it's a good idea to put down at least a second choice. And over the years, we have seen AI scholars, CS scholars, and SAMs very often paired with computational biology. So we see a lot of shared interests. And they, in fact, have a number of scholarships available. And so we just want to present all of your options to you, and CompBio is a popular one. So Josh, can you tell us about your program?
Definitely. All right, let me get my screen sharing going. Okay, am I good? Okay. So CompBio program is a 4-week program. All the programs start at the same time, and we just go for 4 weeks. This is our cohort from last year. We had a large class, nearly 100, and we're shooting for 100 again. So we're definitely looking for students to join us. We have a really great time. And so I am one of the co-directors of this program, along with Philip Campo, who couldn't make it this evening. But we both teach the entirety of the program and split duties in a fun and interesting way that I'll talk about here shortly. In terms of who we're looking for very similar people to the other programs that were described tonight. Particularly want people who are really, really excited about science and particularly biology. Um, we have a lot of programming in our course, but we don't require any coding experience, but we do want our students to be good at math. Because what we've found is that if you're good at math, that's generally going to tell us that you're going to be successful in the programming. And so no programming experience necessary. We also want students who are willing to tackle new challenges because we're going to give a lot of really, really hard problems and work through solving those problems with you. And it's fun if you enjoy challenges. So we're looking for those three characteristics in our applicants. Uh, we have scholarships. We so far have filled 100% of our need. Every single year we've offered scholarships, so we're always looking for more. So feel free to apply if this would fit for you. In terms of the goals of our program, the primary goal is to have a fun learning experience, meaning we focus on challenging our students in a fun environment. And so what we don't do is we don't have like homeworks or exams or anything like that. And as a result, there's no college credit attached to the course. It's just a fun learning experience. You'll definitely become a much better programmer. And we will also focus on showing you how computation is really an essential part of modern biology research. Pretty much every major biological research publication now includes a substantial computational component to it. We'll do some real experiments because you can't have biological research without experiments, and then we're going to relate that to computation that we'll do in the class. So you'll write your own code to analyze data that you generated in the lab. And like I said before, we're looking to challenge you. And so we're going to be doing things that are definitely new to you that you probably haven't even considered as possible before. I mentioned that we do not require programming background. And the reason for that is that we're going to give you a coding boot camp that will start about 6 weeks or so before the program begins. And so what that does is that gets everyone up to speed so that we can hit the ground running on day one with really challenging and interesting stuff rather than trying to learn all the basics of programming. I should correct that. So the actual first day, we have some kind of scientific voyage. In past years, we've done one of two things. In this picture, we got on the Rivers of Steel boat and we rode around to all three rivers of Pittsburgh and we took up water samples, scooped water up, looked at the microbiological organisms in the water under a microscope, and then we also did some DNA extraction to look at the identification of the actual bacteria. So that's one voyage that we've done. Another is that we've gone to some local acid mine drainage ponds and scooped up water there. So those are highly polluted environments from an environmental perspective, not from a safety perspective. And so they have really interesting and weird bacteria in them that we have identified and run some experiments with. So in the actual day-to-day operation of the course, so half the day you're going to be spending in a hackathon with Philip. So you'll work in small groups solving programming problems that are related to analyzing and understanding biological data. And these groups are carefully formed so that you have nice diverse groups that can function well together. And then in the other half of the day, you'll be in the lab with me generating interesting data, running experiments, that sort of thing. In terms of major topics, so we're very interested in the Pittsburgh water microbiome. So the microbiome is basically the microbiological environment of some location. So the water microbiome is looking at different locations in the three rivers of Pittsburgh to try to compare the bacterial content of each of those locations. Like we have some sampling points that are right here at the point of the Allegheny and Monongahela River. And so we can see what bacteria looks like when it's been mixed. The Allegheny River, you can see, is a very different color from the Monongahela River. And so you have different microbiological environments, and we can look at that very specifically. And then the Boyce Park, which is up here, is where the acid mine drainage ponds are. So we'll look at both of those for sure. We'll also look at SARS-CoV-2 and the sequence of the genome of that virus, and we'll show you lots of ways that you can understand, for example, where the genome came from and how you can determine that just by looking at the sequences within the genome. We'll also have an automated science focus. So automated science is a relatively new field where we're using AI to drive robots and tell robots what experiments to run. And then we have these robots run experiments and generate data for us, and then we can build a model very efficiently. And you might say, oh, that's kind of crazy. We can use AI to drive experimentation. So not really. So we will actually use robots in the lab to do some of the work for us. And then we can combine those robots with algorithms like you might use for the game Battleship or 20 questions. So as long as you can frame a question like Battleship game or 20 questions, then you can begin to apply artificial intelligence techniques to solving really complex and interesting biology problems. So we'll do that in the class as well. We'll be looking at learning about whether bacteria will grow under certain environmental conditions that are determined by the AI model. So we have a few questions that are commonly asked that I wanted to go over quickly before we move on. So we don't require any standardized tests on our application process, but they help us determine if you're good at math often. We look for recommendation letters. So teachers, research advisors, and counselors are usually going to be best for that. And if the teachers can be science or math teachers, that's even better. If you live in Pittsburgh, you can commute to our program without any issues. And as others have said, you have to be 16 on the first day of the program. So that's the quick overview of the CompBio program. I think it's related to the other programs that were described today, and we hope you consider us for at least the second or third choice, if not first choice. So hope to see your application. We have the same deadlines as everyone else. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Josh. That was informative. So I'm going to take back the screen, and we're going to hear from Meg. Meg, can you tell us a little bit about what happens outside of the classroom?
Sure. And I am going to kind of move quickly too, because I know people are chomping at the bit to ask questions of the three programs. But I do want to give sort of an overview of what we hope to provide, which is the holistic experience of an undergraduate college experience. So to start off, as Marjorie said, my name is Meg Pryor. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Assistant Director for Pre-College Student Affairs at CMU. So this basically means that it is my job to focus on and support the student life side of the pre-college experience in its entirety. So that basically is from the nuts and bolts of right now. I am recruiting, interviewing, hiring the residential staff to support students. And then while students are here, I help to run the student programming and just make sure that students are getting as much as they can out of the program in as safe and full an experience as possible. Next slide, please, Marjorie. So as part of that full experience, we really want students obviously to focus first on their academics, but to really get the full experience out of what we consider sort of a test run, we do encourage students to take advantage of as many opportunities to explore Pittsburgh, the surrounding area, CMU's campus, and to get to know and build friendships with as many people as possible. So as part of that effort, we offer a few off-campus opportunities for pre-college students to be able to experience Pittsburgh and the surrounding region. So on the left there, you'll see a picture of PNC Park, which is our Major League Baseball team here in Pittsburgh. It's a beautiful place to go watch a game. They're not always the best team in the league, but it is a fun place to watch a game. I think that was Roshan or Natalie that had a picture of a bunch of students at the game. It always ends up being a fun time. So students can attend a pirate game. And then on the right, that is a picture of Falling Water, which is a home designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. It's one of the first examples of green architecture. It's built into the landscape. It's a really, really beautiful home and in a beautiful area. So that's a really wonderful trip that we offer students the opportunity to attend. We provide transportation to both of those events. And the trip to Falling Water includes a box lunch, and the trip to the pirate game includes $15 concession to use at concessions on the ticket as well. We also encourage students in that effort to explore to take advantage of the fact that their Carnegie Mellon University ID functions as a bus pass, where they can have free access to the Pittsburgh Regional Transit bus system. And it also functions as what we call an arts pass, which means that it gives free or discounted access to many local museums and attractions. Next slide, please, Marjorie. So as I mentioned, I'm in the process right now of interviewing and hiring our residential staff. So I supervise a staff of about 65 undergraduate Carnegie Mellon students. These students serve in the role of either community advisor, resident advisor, or senior resident advisor. All of those positions live in the residential halls with students and help to provide 24/7 support to students. It's really an additional benefit to the program because these are undergraduate CMU students. They are carrying out the experience that many of you hope to have, and they are there to answer questions, offer guidance. Actually, I end up hiring a number of students who have been pre-college students before, which is really great because then they have even more to offer in having experienced the residential side themselves. We all work together collaboratively to help deliver a robust student experience. We have about a 10-day training before the students arrive. And during that training period, we work together to proactively plan as many activities and events for students that are optional, but to be able to participate in outside of the classroom. It's our hope that students participate in as many activities as they can manage to fit into their schedule while focusing on their academics. We really believe that this helps to prepare students for their future studies by learning how to manage their time, both inside and outside of the classroom, and providing opportunities for making connections with other students, which both Natalie and Roshan have mentioned, and which are really stellar parts of each of their programs that they work very hard to help build that community. But we also try to do the same thing in a broader sense across different programs as well. All of our pre-college residential students are housed in dorms that are typically used for first-year students here at CMU. They are all, as Roshan mentioned, we do have beautiful summers, very different from the freezing cold temperatures that are happening here now. So when it gets hot, you can rest assured that all those dorms are air conditioned. We do aim to pair our residential pre-college students with a roommate from their same academic program whenever at all possible. We really think that this helps students as they're traveling through the same schedules, finding the same buildings. It gives a little added sort of support for each other. But at the same time, we do believe that it's important for students to get to know other students outside of their own program. So we do work to build a varied cohort from floor to floor that represents as many different programs as possible. I think we can move to the next slide now, Marjorie. Thank you. So we also offer some on-campus activities that are, again, optional, but that help to round out the social experience here at CMU. We have on July 4th, you will have the day off, and in the evening, we provide a really amazing professional fireworks show. And that is also fun because it's attended not just by pre-college students, but there are CMU students that are here for the summer that come. There are families and people that live in the area that come, and staff members that come. I always bring my kids. It's a fun time. We also offer social activities, and we have students that are able to join and or form their own student clubs. So we have some clubs that'll be ready to go and it'll be advertised to you when you would arrive, that RAs have started working on and are supporting. But we also quite often have students that get here and find that they have a similar interest and they want to start a club to meet once a week, and we help to support that as well and have a budget to help support that as well. We do try to have those mirror the undergraduate, the way that an undergraduate club would work. So they generally meet, like I mentioned, on a weekly basis, and they are not meant to add stress to a student's life, but to help alleviate stress. So you can rest assured that if you join a club, but then find that your time is feeling stretched too thin, you are not held to the fire to keep attending that club. We've had everything you can imagine. We usually have an a cappella club. We've had knitting, Dungeons and Dragons, swimming. You can see there's a volleyball club happening there. We've had ethics and engineering, anything you can really imagine. And again, those are optional, but they help to provide another level of exploring common interests, having a place to sort of blow off some steam, release some stress, and also, again, build connections with other students. Next slide, please, Marjorie. So as a pre-college student, you would have access to most of the resources that are available to our undergraduate student population. These are things like our university health services, counseling and psychological services, which we refer to as CAPS, many athletic facilities across campus, many study spaces across campus, our wonderful Student Academic Success Center, which I really encourage students to take advantage of. They can assist with helping to pinpoint maybe some areas of improvement that can be found in time management or study habits. We also have the Center for Diversity Inclusion, which is available to our pre-college students while they're here, which Roshan mentioned. Many, many more opportunities while you're here. I like to include this little picture there on the left. That is some of our RAs from this past summer and a couple pre-college students. And the gentleman in the glasses and the mustache is Farnham, who is the president of CMU, and they ran into him at a Rite Aid, and he very kindly took a picture with them. So you never know who you're going to meet when you're out and about exploring Pittsburgh as a pre-college student. I will wrap up there. There's plenty more if you do end up joining us. I will do information sessions closer to when you arrive, and I will fill you in on all the details. But I do just want to reiterate that students in our pre-college programs here at CMU are able to experience much more than the amazing classroom learning opportunities that the 3 programs and our other programs offer to you. But our goal is to provide that chance to test drive the entire undergraduate experience, not only if you were to end up here at Carnegie Mellon, but to prepare students for what they might expect when they start undergraduate studies wherever they wind up. That is all for me, Marjorie. Thank you.
Thank you, Meg. So some important details, the application. So the application is entirely online and it is open, and it is very much like a college application. You have been hearing through the evening that we are about college preparation, exploring careers, your educational opportunities. We're all about preparation. The application is part of that, right? It's by experiencing sort of this mini college application now, you will be better prepared when you go to apply at the undergraduate level. It will seem a little less daunting, we believe. So in the application, as I mentioned before, you can list 3 program choices, first, second, and third. You'll want to list them in the order of your preference because we will review them in that order. We will make a decision on your number 1 choice. If it is not an admit, then we will go on and consider your second choice and so on. In our application, there's going to be some required sections. 1, we're going to require your high school transcript. Please include 9th grade up. If you have in-progress courses, we love to see those as well too. So we encourage you, everything you have from 9th grade up, we would like to see. There will be essays that are required, at least 2. So, and please note that if you have 1, 2, and 3 program choices listed, you will need to write an essay for all 3 of those program choices. So please pay attention to that requirement as well. 1 or 2 recommendations will be required. This isn't done entirely online. You will enter the contact information for your recommender and the system sends them an email. So it's pretty hands-off for you. And then a portfolio, depending on the program, might be required. For the 4 programs that are here tonight, there is no portfolio required. Oops, excuse me, I went a little too fast. Optionally, standardized test scores. Now, Josh had mentioned this. It is optional. And please know that if you decide not to, and I know Josh feels the same way, it does help inform us, but you're not penalized if you do not submit them. So please, you submit them at your discretion. There's an extracurricular activities section. This is also optional, but I know I speak for all of us. We really do highly recommend that you do complete it. It helps us understand how you're spending your time now, what your passions are. It just helps us get to know you better. And let me say here, it does not have to be directly related to the subject that is involved in the program of your choice. If you are working, that counts. That really counts if you are employed. If you are taking care of siblings, also counts. Just everything that you're doing, you're putting your energy towards, we like to hear about because it helps us get to know you better. And then if you are applying for a scholarship, or for one of the fully funded programs, that's AIS Scholars, CS Scholars, and SAMS, there will be an additional section. You will need to complete some household information, just very high-level information. And then you'll also need to provide some supporting documentation on the financial status of the house. All these materials, all the required materials, need to be uploaded into the online system for that submit button to work. So you want to think ahead, plan ahead, who you're going to ask for the recommendations, think about the essay prompts. So there are 2 application deadlines that you need to be aware of. The first is February 1st. That is for any international applicants, any early decision applicants. That is not going to apply to our fully funded programs. We can kind of dig into that in a little bit. But this is also the SAMS preferred deadline, as Roshan mentioned. And I'm sure she'd be happy to go into further detail if you would like some of that. The big deadline that you need to pay attention to is March 1st. That is our final deadline. So that is when all scholarship apps need to be in. That all fully funded, AIS, CSS, and SAMS, all those applications need to be in. And any other application, so any regular decision. On March 2nd, we can't consider any more applications. So please be paying attention to that March 1st deadline. That's a big one. Decisions, when we do make them, are going to be posted to your applicant status portal. And then an email will be sent out saying that you have a decision posted. So you'll want to check both of those. For any scholarship decisions or for the fully funded merit-based programs, decisions are all sent on April 4th. That's a fixed date. Any non-scholarship decisions will be released on a rolling basis. So please also be aware of that. If you are admitted or waitlisted, you will have 7 days to reply to the offer through your applicant portal. Quickly, I'm just going to take a look at the program dates. The opening day is June 21. That's when we kind of take over campus. We are not a small part of the CMU campus starting this day. We run the show, if I may say so. That weekend is filled with opening day activities and orientations. You're going to get to know your program classmates. You're going to know your program directors and also the people that you're going to be living. You're going to be spending a few weeks with in the residential halls. And then classes start on that Monday, June 23rd. Obviously, with varying lengths, we have staggered end dates for the 4-week programs that are here tonight. So that's AIS, CSS, and Computational Biology. Those programs, the last class, the day of class will be July 18th for SAMS, which is a 6-week program. The last day of class is August 1st. Those days are packed. Please plan on full participation until the very end of those days. And then you need to move out of the residential halls the day after, which is a Saturday. So this information that's here on your screen, I'm going to pop it into the chat so you can grab it if you would like to have a record of it. Please feel free to reach out to us offline at any time. But with that said, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let's just open it up for some Q&A. Meg, could you start with reading off some of our questions?
Sure thing. I think that probably, excuse me, some of these will sort of intersect each other in their answers, but I'll go through them anyway. So we have a question. I'm not underprivileged and from a suburban area. Am I not eligible for either CS or AI scholars? And then she also added, I just wanted to add, I'm a girl. Would that qualify me as underrepresented?
Yes, that definitely qualifies you as underrepresented. And I think I get this question a lot in email, and I know that Roshan and Monica get this question a lot too about SAMS as the fully funded merit-based programs. And so I'll just say that as long as you meet the requirements, right? Anyone who meets the requirements around your age, as long as you're going to be 16 by the start of the program, as long as you meet the citizenship requirements, and as long as you're in the correct grade level for each program, you know, you're welcome to apply. When we talk about financial need, or we talk about underrepresented or under-resourced, sort of a broad, lots of like, it's a broad definition that we use. So that can mean, when we talk about under-resourced, that could mean things like financial need. It could mean lack of computer science education in your school district or community, which is something that I think I mentioned earlier. Lack of access to affordable or stable internet or computing devices. And maybe none of that is, is something that you're experiencing, but maybe you're in this category of students. I always sort of use myself as an example, right? If my own child was applying to my program, they would not meet the requirements for financial need, but that also doesn't necessarily mean that we could afford a $10,000 summer program at Carnegie Mellon. So we understand that the financial people, family financials are very nuanced. And your situations are very nuanced, and that is why we work with the pre-college to give you opportunity to either provide the waiver, the NICAC waiver, or to provide the tax documentation that is required, so that we can just kind of get a holistic view. We'll look at your family financials within the context of your entire application. So we take sort of holistic approach to reviewing applications. Is there anything that you wanted to add, Roshan? Because I know that's a question you get as well.
No, I mean, I agree with Natalie. I think that we really do look at the whole application. We were talking today, Monica and I, and we are trying to figure out your story, right? So each piece of that application tells us a story about who the applicant is. And no one piece stands out more than any of the other pieces, but it's just that complete picture. And so we're using those letters of recommendation. We're using your words in your essay. We're using the financial information to tell a story about what's happening sort of in financially with your family. We're using all the background information, your classes, all of that stuff tells a story and helps us to make a decision. And it's not based on any one particular factor that rises above another.
Maybe Josh, could you speak to how it's a little different, right? Like you're not fully funded merit-based. You have an allotted number of scholarships that you award. So can you kind of talk about your process there, because it is a little bit different?
Yeah, it's a little different. So we get students who apply through the scholarship process at times, and if we find that they would not be eligible for that, then we'll still consider them for admission into the full pay program, or the normal tuition program. And so it's a little different there. We have both types of students, and yeah, pretty flexible in that way.
Thank you.
I've got one that there should be a quick answer for here in the Q&A, and then we have a bunch in the chat that I'm going to try to get to. I'm a sophomore currently, and I'll be 16 by June 21st. Will I be eligible to apply only for CSS and not for AIS and SAMS?
That is correct. Yes, you
That's
only as a current sophomore, you're
this
only
year.
eligible this year to apply for CSS. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to try to hit as many of these in the chat as I can.
Well, I
But
can.
do you want to?
Yeah, why don't we bounce back and forth?
Sure.
So, can we just reiterate the grade level requirements for each program? Why don't we just go around to, I see three presenters on this screen. I don't see Monica, so can you just shout it out?
Sure. For SAMS, you must be a current junior or in 11th grade currently now as you're filling out the application, meaning at the completion of SAMS, you will be going into your senior year of high school.
Yep. And for CS scholars, you should currently be a sophomore. So that's considered a rising junior. And then for AI scholars, you should currently be a junior, which we would consider a rising senior in this image. I'm going to also just put that in the chat just so everybody can see.
Josh?
For CompBio, we take rising juniors and rising seniors, but a majority of our students are rising seniors.
Can you speak to why that is?
It's basically an indication of preparation, and so we're looking for students that are going to succeed, and by having that extra year in high school, they get more experiences, more classes, and it's usually going to be easier to see that they're going to be successful than it is for the younger students. But we've still had plenty of students who are younger who have shown us that they're quite talented and then come to the program and been very successful, and that everyone's integrated well together. It's been a great experience.
So we also had a question about international students. So
Sorry, Marjorie, can I add, do you mind if I add, sorry, that just to say that SAMS, and I will speak for Natalie, though she can hop in for AI scholars. One of the reasons that we require folks to be going into their senior year is there really is a large focus on college application prep. That writing seminar is for students to be able to write their college essays and have them workshopped. And so it's really important that all the students sort of, as we're moving through SAMS, are at the same process in the application sort of life. And that's that writing seminar is prep for that. Thank you.
So you know what? That brings me to another question that I have. So I'm hearing that AIS and CSS at its level and SAMS has a focus on college preparation, a really direct line to that. Josh, can you talk about that with CompBio? Do you do that? Is there a component there?
So with CompBio, there is not. It is strictly like 8 hours a day biology of some sort. The only way we help in that direction is we do provide students with a letter after the program, basically describing what we did. It's not typically going to be individualized to the students because we have lots of students and it's very hard to make an assessment of how an individual student has done in the program because we don't have homeworks, we don't have exams. So we give that letter describing what they've done, and most students have been able to include that letter in their college applications, and they go cool places for undergrad. So that's the extent of our involvement there.
Do you ever, could students ask for a recommendation letter from you?
We do have students who ask every year, even though we say we would have a hard time writing a recommendation. There have been a few situations where the students have really made themselves like obvious in the class and asked lots of good questions and been very involved where we could say more useful things about them in the class, but for the most part, we don't write individualized recommendation letters. Probably, I think maybe 4 out of a couple hundred students that I've written an individual recommendation letter for in the last 5 years.
What about Rashawn, Monica, Natalie? You want to speak to sort of any of those takeaways?
Regarding
any kind of end evaluation? Do you write
yes.
letters?
So similar to what Josh mentioned earlier, we don't offer any college credits for our courses. One, because it's a 4-week program, we just can't get enough information into we can't get enough in to make it one worth of college credit at this particular moment. And also, we really want to keep the focus on learning and the process. And so we don't do like final exams or final evaluations in that sense. No, yeah. I mean, if you know, you're always welcome to get feedback from any of your professors. And like I said, with the, I will say for AI scholars, our AI instructor does not write recommendation letters for college. I do end up writing a lot of them because I do spend a lot of time with our students. And I think that's one of the things about the program that I think our students really appreciate, and is that there's a heavy academic focus, and then there's also a heavy interpersonal focus where I do spend a lot of time getting to know students. And especially when we have students who are participating over the course of 2 summers for CSS and AIS. And then we've got a lot of stuff happening in between and keeping touch throughout the year. So I think I probably, and the cohort is smaller than the cohort for SAMS or the cohort for CompBio. So we do have sort of I have a unique opportunity to build those relationships in a more robust way. And so that is why I feel comfortable writing those letters for students when they ask.
I will add that for SAMS, Monica and I have both written letters, both this past year and in me for years past. For students, there is no final evaluation. SAMS this past summer added a 4-credit course. It's our student to scholar course. So there are units for successful completion of that course that are available. It will depend on whether your future college chooses to accept those or not. But there are units that for CMU are sort of under a general curriculum units, but there is a student to scholar course that was added just this past summer. We anticipate that happening again this coming summer. But I will also add that our SAMS instructors, many of them will also write letters of recommendation. It is on the student to develop that relationship. It's not just sort of a given, but I think any of our instructors that feel like they know a student well enough will indeed write letters of recommendation for participants.
Thank you. And I ask these questions not because there's any right or wrong, but all of the programs there's a little bit of nuance, right? So you want to think about what you're really looking for in your summer experience and sort of what fits you, or what few programs fit you, right? Because you get three options. We got a question about international students. Can you want to all address that? Because there is also a little bit of a difference. SAMS, Rashawn, do you take international students?
We do not. The students must be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident of the U.S. And I will just tag on that Natalie's programs are the same. So CS scholars and AI scholars as well. Students must be U.S. citizens or permanent residents to apply.
Okay.
Yes, I'll just add on that. That's the reason is because we're fully funded merit-based, which means, like I mentioned before, our students all receive scholarship to attend, and so the university, we're not permitted to offer scholarship to international students, and there's no opportunity for folks to pay out of pocket to come to these programs.
And let me add, so it's U.S. citizen. We get a lot of students that are living overseas for whatever reason, military perhaps, and they are eligible. It's based on your citizenship or your U.S. permanent residence. Josh, what about you?
In CompBio, we take international students. I do not believe we take international students for scholarships, though.
Yep, correct. Yep. And you do have an international population that always participates. Yep.
Yep, we do.
Meg.
Marjorie, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything different that homeschoolers need to do in the application?
Well, we'll need some kind of transcript. So as long as you can generate that, if you have any questions, reach out to me and we can talk about what you can supply. It should be a transcript that is generated by outside of the family, right? Like that there's some overseeing body. Or an outside organization is what we prefer, but please feel free to reach out to me and we can work through that. We welcome homeschool students.
And I think I'm going to say, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing this, but Rangshan there's a question there, Marjorie, in the chat that I think they should reach out to you directly. It's about the international student application deadline, but also some challenges with the time lapse for recommendation letters. That may be something to talk more directly with Marjorie about as she does the all the enrollment stuff.
Yeah, please. I'm going to throw my email into the chat. Please send me an email and I'm happy to work through it with you.
Natalie, this is specifically to about CS scholars, but Roshan and Josh, you may have similar things to throw in there. It's an interesting question. How have past participants of CS scholars used the knowledge and skills they've gained from the program to create a positive impact in their local/broader communities? Are there any examples of alumni projects or initiatives where they leverage their experience from the program to support marginalized and/or underrepresented groups?
What a great question.
That's a great question.
Yeah, I can give a couple of examples, and I'm thinking about a couple of some students who are current seniors who, and these are specifically students who did both CSS and AIS. We had a couple of students who participated in a congressional app challenge where they took the skills that they learned over the course of CSS and AIS, and they created an app that they submitted that was focused on environmental and looking at, oh my gosh, I'm going to do such a poor job of explaining this because I am not a computer scientist. But essentially, they created an app that was looking at climate change and environmental issues in community and the impacts of them on the communities that they came from. I haven't heard yet how they fared in their challenge, or if those results have even been announced yet. But that's one most recently, and it's a lot of stuff like that, and where they're taking when you do your group projects here, those are the kinds of things that those are the kind of issues that that the groups tend to be focused on, and some of those have heavy input from you, the student, and the issues that are important to you. Some of them are, some of them have a little more. Please forgive me. Some of them have a little more influence from instructors, and some are a little more student-led, kind of depending on the group, the group that is put together. But those are some of the types of projects. So we've done like AI image classification, looking at skin lesions for cancer detection. We've done some looking at, one of my favorites a couple of years ago was like looking at different types of fabrics and trying to determine like if fabrics were sustainable. Like it was kind of a fast fashion project, but with an AI spin to it that was really interesting. We've done trash classification. We've done some really heavily math focused, where students are like really looking at building code to solve math problems. I go way beyond my mathematical abilities. And then a lot of our students take those projects and the things that they learn either back to their schools and then implement them in clubs and programs. A lot of students who have come together with with some of their peers from the program, sort of across state lines, even to kind of create and launch programs of their own. And then we also see a lot of students. I have one student in particular who was really excited about the college prep stuff that they were getting access to, the opportunities they were getting, and resources they were getting access to, and took that back to their high school this year, and created a program where for undergrad, they're sort of like freshman and sophomore and junior level at their high school, and really started like implementing and teaching them about those resources early. So yes, the answer is yes. And those are just a few that I could talk about.
So in CompBio, So the program started in 2019 and it's grown very quickly. So we started off really small, about 25 students or so. Um, we haven't heard a ton of feedback from the students about what they've done in the area of working in their community. We've had a few students who took on like mentoring roles for other high schoolers after they went into undergrad, where they're helping to drive some very basic, like what is it called? The science fair type projects. And so that was good. Um, another avenue that they may potentially have impact is we actually had our first student from the 2019 cohort was admitted to a PhD program this past year. And so we anticipate that she's going to do great things in her community from a research perspective. But that is to be determined yet.
And I'll just offer that we learned from our student to scholar course really focuses on growth mindset and sort of systems in place and how folks are either built with skill or can develop skill or sort of look at resources to help them thrive in spaces. And so two of our students who did not know each other, both from California before they arrived to SAMS, took back both the skills around growth mindset to start clubs in their high schools, but then also a joint program between those schools. So different high schools. So taking the skills that they learned back to their peers in their high schools, but then also creating connections between high schools that were not there before.
There's a question here. Can we move to the next one? Is everyone? Okay. So are there any specific qualities or achievements that you want to see in the application? Can you all just kind of what blows you away when you see an application? Natalie, you go.
I would. Josh had muted himself first. Go ahead, Josh.
Okay.
So a real interest in science, particularly an interest in computational biology and being good at math. Those are the two big things.
Yeah, I'll second that. Like, and a real strong interest and a desire to study computer science or artificial intelligence. You'll see, you know, someone asked in the chat about the ratio of applications to admits. So for, I think Roshan said for SAMS, there were about 650 applications with a class of 77 last year. We also had about 650 applications across both programs. And from those 650, we admitted, I think 33 because we had returning students as well, or 43, I'm sorry, 43 with the plus the returning students from CSS. And everybody who applies is exceptional. You're great. The grades are like, I've never looked at an application and been like, wow, these grades are trash. Every year, like you're all brilliant. And so I think the thing that I would encourage you to do is really when you're writing your essays, that's the place where we get to hear your voice. And so it's usually like when you allow yourself to like really share the things that you're passionate about in your essays, those are sort of the standout things for me in the application process. When we're reading hundreds and hundreds of them, you're gonna have to write multiple essays like Marjorie mentioned earlier. And we get this a lot, right? Because a lot of people will apply for all three of these programs. So you're gonna have to write essays for everybody has a standard essay they have to write for pre-college, and then you're going to have to write, we have 2 essay prompts for AIS and CSS. And then I think, Roshan, do you have 2 that you can choose one of each? You can choose one of 2, and I don't know about CompBio, but it's a lot. It's going to be a lot for you, but like really, like let us know who you are in that, and you don't worry about having like exceptional grammar or having a really technically well written essay, like but take your time and let us know, be creative and let us know like who you are and what you're passionate about. Because those are the things I think that tend to sort of like tip the scales. It's like really getting an opportunity to say, this is a student that I could see thriving in this environment and in this cohort that we're building.
Can I jump in with 2 points on just to piggyback? You mentioned the number of applications received and then the number of spots available. That's really why we encourage you to put down a second and even a third choice if they are of interest, if you feel like you could be really engaged in any of the programs, because they are competitive programs, right? And we are about opportunity. We really want to give as many students an opportunity to participate as possible. We know you're putting effort into it. So that just brings us joy when we can give out as many opportunities as possible, right? Because you've earned it. The second thing, essays and them being perfect. Don't be tempted to use ChatGPT. We read a lot of essays in admissions, and bells can ring. So please, we really want to hear from you.
Agreed. That's one of my points was going to be, Marjorie, that I think if you want to use it as a tool, sort of as a resource to help formulate what it is that you're thinking about, but truly as people who are reading these essays, it is very obvious when there is no soul to that essay. And so that's what we're really looking for is tell us who you are. Tell us about yourself. Tell us why this experience means something to you. And ChatGPT just cannot do that. And it is clear when it's used, and it's clear across multiple essays because they all say the same words. So just tell us about you. I think to Natalie's point, I'm less critical if you use the wrong grammar or you're using contractions where you should write the word. Like, I'm less concerned about that. I'm more concerned about feeling like I know who you are. We have so many limited spots to give out, and we want to be able to give this opportunity to folks, to as many folks as we can. And so we really are looking for, like, there are no questions in this application, right? Like the things I'm seeing in the extracurriculars match up with what I'm seeing in academics, match up with what the letters say, and match up with your essays. Like it's that flow of, I feel like I understand who this person is, and why we want them to be part of this community, what they're bringing to the community, and what I know they'll take from the community.
And I love how Rashaan said tell. So just to give more depth to that, telling us how you love math could include what was that moment where you're like, oh my gosh, math is so applicable to all these other things, right? Or that it's connected to something, some health situation in your family, or in the world, sort of light bulb moments. That is really telling us when you're grounding it into some kind of story where you realize, oh, this is something that's really engaging to me that I'm super interested in. That if that helps at all, kind of define that.
I want to just add something really quickly about the recommendation letters, since you mentioned them, Roshan. Make sure you're asking someone to write you a recommendation letter that you know is going to write you a strong recommendation letter. Because we have seen recommendation letters come in that, don't always paint the picture that you maybe are expecting them to paint, right? You don't get to see that letter, we get to see it. But I just want to say, like, really take time to think about who you're asking, and do you have a relationship with them? Ask early. Don't wait until the last minute. Your recommendation letters are due at the same time as your application. There's no sort of extended deadline for recommendation letters. So if you're thinking about applying, get on that tomorrow. When this, by the end of this week, think about, like, who are my good teachers, or coaches or club instructors, or whomever those adults are that really put some thought into that, because you want to make sure that you're asking someone who is going to give you a good recommendation.
I will just say too that we are not, don't be afraid to apply if you don't know exactly what you want to do for the rest of your life. We are not looking for folks who know exactly what they want to do, and this is sort of on the path, and then the next step will be this, and then like that's amazing if you know that. We do not have the expectation that at this point you know exactly what you want to do. It may just be like, I've always really loved math or science or whatever the thing is, and I want to use this opportunity to learn more about it, learn what the fields might be, sort of future, what college might look like. So please don't hesitate to apply if you're not exactly sure or you feel like everybody else knows what they want to do. That is not the case at all. Again, we're just looking for a passion and an interest, some academic skill level there. But again, it's you telling us your story. Tell us who you are.
And I can say, Josh, that applies to you as well, as you stand, as your background is a bunch of computers, and do you have to feel like they want to know that they want to go into CompBio, or?
No, not at all. It's really just, are you interested and excited about the possibility of using computers to help solve biology problems? We don't think I don't think the discussion of what someone wants to do in the future has really come up. We totally understand that high school students um, change their mind often, and even they get into undergrad and change their mind often. To fill up my program co-director, he directs the undergrad program, and he sees people change majors all the time, and so that's not even a consideration. I would add a little bit to what Natalie was saying about the recommendation letters. The advice that I got when I was much younger was to explicitly ask someone for a strong recommendation letter. So you can ask them, will you write me a strong recommendation letter? As opposed to, will you write me a recommendation letter? And if they don't feel comfortable writing you a strong recommendation letter, they should tell you, and then you go find someone else. So
and then I'm
be a
going
little
to,
more forthright about it. Yep.
yeah. I am going to just answer this was a direct question, but so when it comes to, if you've taken sections of the PSATs but not the entire, upload what you have in the areas where you have to enter. It is okay if you put 0. We know to look at the document as evidence of the score. So if it doesn't translate exactly into the fields that you need to complete, that's okay. If you just do 0, we'll figure that out. That can apply also to transcripts. School transcripts, excuse me, come in so many varieties now and so many different scales. So if yours does not match just sort of the standard scale, it is okay to put 0s. If you have your transcript there, we can figure it out. So don't labor over that too much, get too worried. So we are a few minutes past time. Do we have any pressing questions, Meg, that you have seen that we really should not close without addressing? I feel like we have addressed a lot.
I saw a couple. I tried to reply to this. I saw a couple of questions about CSS being reinvited to return for AIS. I just want to just very clearly answer that really quickly. So if you complete a summer of CSS in good standing, you don't get into any trouble or do anything crazy while you're here, you will receive an invitation to return the following summer for AIS. So sometimes, and then it'll be up to you to decide. We'll give you a deadline to decide whether or not you're going to return. Some students don't return because they want to apply to programs at, other universities, or they get internships, or they get summer jobs or things like that. Or maybe they just don't want to come. They were like, one summer at CMU was good for me and I don't want to come back, and that's okay too. But yes, I hope I've answered that clearly.
I think it's worth mentioning just one more time, just because there were variations of this question. For AIS, CSS, and SAMS, if you meet the age requirements, and if you are a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, you can go ahead and apply. Don't get bogged down in what qualifies as what, right? Just go ahead and apply. For CompBio, go ahead and apply. If you're an international student, as long as you're going to be 16 by the day the program starts, go ahead and apply. Just because that got asked a number of times in a number of different ways. And then Marjorie just put it in there again, but if you have some of these specific questions about the application itself, Marjorie's email is in there. It's the McConnor D. It says nerd in her email address, but that's okay.
Which I didn't realize when I.
Yeah. So, and then you can, if you have student life questions, you can always shoot those to me. If you shoot it anywhere in the pre-college world, it'll get to the right person.
Yeah, we work closely together, so we will.
Even if something
sure
comes to us, but it's really for SAMS or for Natalie, or we'll make sure it gets where it needs to go. So,
yeah. So again, I want to encourage everyone here to please be thinking about making sure you're putting down a second choice, so that you can, get your best shot at joining us for the summer. That is really what our hope is, that we see you. We want to see your application, but ultimately we'd like to see your feet walking all over our campus with us, enjoying a beautiful Pittsburgh summer, not the weather today. So I think with that, we'll just go ahead and close. Again, please reach out to any of us. As Mike said, we are all available for any questions. So please feel free to contact us. We thank you for taking this evening to learn more about these programs and about who we are. And we look forward to knowing who you are very soon through your application. So thank you to the presenters. I appreciate you taking your evening to be here tonight. So
thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.